She thought Christmas would be lonely again, and maybe that's why the knock on the door sounded like it came from a dream. Before we begin, if stories that make you feel, heal, and believe again matter to you, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep bringing you stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Now settle in, because this isn't just a Christmas story, it's a reminder that life can surprise you when you've almost given up expecting anything at all. The apartment was quiet in the way only Christmas Eve silence can be, too still, too loud in its emptiness. Snow pressed softly against the window like it was apologizing for intruding, and the small artificial tree in the corner blinked unevenly, one light already burnt out. Emma sat curled on the couch with a mug of tea gone cold in her hands, staring at nothing in particular. At 29, she had learned how to make loneliness look respectable. She told coworkers she liked quiet holidays. She told her mother she was busy. She told herself she was fine. But the truth sat heavy in her chest. Another Christmas without family nearby, without laughter filling the room, without someone asking her to stay just a little longer. Emma had worked for Hawthorne Enterprises for 3 years, first as a junior assistant, then as an executive coordinator. It was a good job, great, even. Stable pay, impressive title, health insurance that actually worked. And then there was him. Daniel Hawthorne, the billionaire CEO everyone whispered about in elevators and admired from a distance. To the world, he was confident, polished, untouchable. To Emma, he was demanding, focused, sometimes unexpectedly kind, and impossibly hard to read. He remembered details others forgot. He said thank you. He noticed when she stayed late. But he also kept his distance, a glass wall of professionalism that never cracked. This Christmas, like the ones before it, she had planned nothing. Most of the office had left town days ago, and Daniel himself had announced he'd be traveling abroad. Emma had smiled, wished him a happy holiday, and gone back to organizing files. She didn't expect anything different. She never did. The knock came just as she was considering going to bed early to make the night end faster. 3 firm knocks. Not hurried, not hesitant. Emma froze. No one ever came to her door, especially not on Christmas Eve. Her first thought was that she was mistaken, that the sound belonged to a neighbor. Then it came again. Her heart began to race as she stood, pulled her cardigan tighter around herself, and walked to the door. When she opened it, the world shifted. Daniel Hawthorne stood in the hallway, snow dusting his dark coat, his breath visible in the cold air. He looked nothing like the man from the boardroom. No tailored suit, no polished smile, just a man holding a small paper bag, eyes uncertain, shoulders tense, like he wasn't sure he was welcome. "I'm sorry," he said quickly, as if bracing for rejection. "I know this is unexpected. I can leave if..." "Daniel," it was all she managed to say. "I had nowhere else to go," he admitted softly, and that single sentence carried more weight than any speech he'd ever given in a meeting. She stepped aside without thinking. The door closed behind him, sealing out the cold, and somehow sealing in a moment neither of them had planned for but both desperately needed. They sat at opposite ends of the couch at first, awkward and unsure. Emma offered him tea. He accepted like it was a gift. He explained that his plans had fallen through, that the holidays reminded him of things he preferred not to remember. He didn't mention the mansion sitting empty across town, or the invitations he'd declined. He didn't need to. Emma understood that loneliness didn't care how much money you had. As the evening stretched on, the walls between them thinned. They talked about childhoods, about dreams quietly set aside, about the pressure of always being the strong one. Daniel confessed that building an empire had been easier than building a life. Emma admitted she often felt invisible, useful but unseen. There were moments of laughter, moments of silence that felt safe instead of awkward. At some point, she reheated leftover soup, and they ate from mismatched bowls like two people who had known each other far longer than they realized. But the night wasn't without its challenges. Old fears surfaced. Emma worried she was just a convenient refuge, a pause before Daniel returned to his real world. Daniel feared crossing a line, feared that opening up would cost him the respect he'd worked so hard to maintain. When the clock crept past midnight, the distance threatened to return. "I don't want this to be a mistake," Emma said quietly, staring at the blinking tree. Daniel stood, running a hand through his hair. "Neither do I, but I think the bigger mistake would be pretending this didn't matter." He told her the truth then, that she had been the best part of his workdays, that her kindness grounded him, that he'd driven past her building twice before finding the courage to knock. Not because he was lonely, but because he didn't want to be alone anymore. Emma felt something shift inside her. Not a fairy tale certainty, but something steadier. Hope, cautious but real. The snow kept falling outside, and inside, two people made a quiet decision, to try. Not to rush, not to promise forever in a single night. Just to choose connection over isolation, honesty over fear. Christmas morning arrived gently, sunlight filtered through the curtains. They stood by the window, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up. It wasn't perfect, nothing magically fixed itself, but Emma didn't feel lonely. And Daniel didn't feel lost. Sometimes the greatest gifts don't come wrapped in ribbon. Sometimes they knock on your door when you've already convinced yourself no one is coming. If this story reminded you that it's never too late for warmth, for connection, for unexpected love, don't forget to like and subscribe. You never know who might need the next story, or when hope might knock on your own door.